Ready to roll? Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Michael McGandy, Southern New Hampshire University's Veteran Support Services Coordinator. As SNHU begins our annual observance of Veterans Week on campus, I'm pleased to present to you Ray Summers, who will give us a firsthand account of one of the seminal events in our nation's history. According to a 2016 survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, no other event during the respondents' lifetimes has come close to being as important or as memorable as the 9/11 terror attacks. Ray grew up in Derry, New Hampshire, and graduated from Pinkerton Academy. He served in the U.S. Army from 1994 to 2000 in the elite 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. In 2000, Ray's journey took him to Southern New Hampshire University, where he majored in sports management. I'll now ask Ray to tell you the rest of the story.
Thank you, Mike, very much. So thanks everybody for coming today. As much as you rehearse and prepare for things, it never works out. My introduction starts, I don't have the note cards, and guess what? I'm making it up as I go along. Welcome to the story of Ray Summers. Pretty much been making it up as I go along. So I'd like to kick off. Oh, let me grab a mic. How about the second thing I screwed up? I told you I was telling my story today, right? Just keep smiling and dancing. So, Ray Summers, thank you, first of all, to the Southern New Hampshire University community for welcoming me back. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to focus kind of over here. I'm going to start with acknowledgments, if everybody doesn't mind. So this is the first time I've done this. So even my family doesn't know the full story. They're also hearing it, but I couldn't pick a more appropriate place to come back to than the place where it all started. So I appreciate everybody bearing with me first and foremost. Probably be a few tactical pauses, as we like to say. Probably a little bit of emoting. That doesn't mean breaking down any of that other scary stuff when people hear veterans like, oh, they're going to emote. No. We have a dark sense of humor. So it's typically funny and works out. But today, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to be here, for everyone that's out on the live stream, everybody tuning in, former classmates, former teammates. Paulie Calkins got some of the Lax boys here today. That's good. Doug Blaze here. Mike, thank you so much for putting this together. And again, Southern New Hampshire community, thank you so much for welcoming me back. So we don't have a huge crowd today. Online we do, but I'm a graduate of SNU in 03. Today, what I want to talk to you about a little bit is a story of resilience one day at a time. And today, for me, quite candidly, it's a historical event. Everybody who was alive in September 11th, 2001. Oh, thank God. And I used to sit where you guys used to sit going, God, I can't believe Calkins makes me come to this crap. Hopefully you guys get a lot out of it, but it was 20 years. It goes by in the blink of an eye. And the story that I'm about to tell today is literally the first-hand account of somebody that was there when it happened. I am a 9/11 2001 survivor. Tactical pause. Attempt at comedy. Anybody know who Andy Kaufman is? No? Thanks, Doug. I owe you a beer. This might be a little bit like that. So the first few minutes is going to be acknowledgments, as I said, so please give me 5 or 10 minutes after 20 years of sitting on this story and sitting on everything and keeping everything inside. A lot of people say to me, Ray, just this energy that you bring, nervous energy, high energy, low energy. The minute that I walk in, when I used to come home from work, my wife used to joke around. She knew when I was having a good day or a bad day because by the time my truck pulled in the neighborhood, the dog was either standing at the front door hiding under the bed. You can laugh. It's funny. Right? We said emote, laugh, doesn't mean cry. This is a story of success. So I throw off this energy. Why do I throw off this energy and why am I talking about it right now? Because for 20 plus years, I've been suppressing it. I've been trying to forget things. I've been trying to figure out ways to sleep better at night. I've been trying to figure out ways to just get through and just grind. Every day is a grind, period, end of story. That's what I've been doing the last 20 years. And so I'd like to thank you again for the opportunity. I'm not going to go full Ray. You're welcome, Doug. You're welcome, Paul. But, there's going to be an intensity at points and times to me. I'm not going to apologize for it. I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. Because I've spent 20 plus years studying me to understand me, because if you're going to make an impact on yourself and others and even just grind, because life sucks, you got to know who you are. There's so many influences out there today that are just constantly pumping it into us. You got to know who you are. Stop looking around, right? So that's what today is about. And I'd like to start out first and foremost with a few acknowledgments for my family who's in the back row. My mother, who has taught me how to be a survivor. Having not been able to tell her how much she means to me, to be able to stand here today and to tell this story for the first time. I said we're making history, right? Well, I am anyway. And I was there, so I got the next couple hours. But she's a breast cancer survivor, abusive relationship survivor. Like, I can't count the amount of ways that I watched day in and day out growing, watching my mother, but I was paying attention. You're going to see a theme with a lot of this. A lot of times you're so worried about all the other things that you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. You're so concerned with what's going on here, there, and everywhere. You could pick up more in life paying attention to your 3-foot bubble than you can any TikTok video that's coming from God knows where. Okay, so Mom, thank you for everything. I know I don't say it much. I know I gave you a hell of a time. Believe it or not, I wasn't always this pillar of society, right, Doug? I maybe had a moment or two until I stopped drinking. And I still joke about that, guys. I used to drink, not anymore. To my wife, Adrienne, everybody when I talk about September 11th and the rest of my Forrest Gump life, I wish I could have been half the hero that everybody thinks I am, that I could have been for you. And thank you for your support. She's going to kill me. I've thought about it a lot, but it's go time. Our minister that married us told a joke, and Adrienne, gorgeous, amazing female that she is, was like the anchor. Our minister called my wife the anchor that's going to keep me attached to the stratosphere for a young lady. Yeah, see, look, she's making the face. That's okay. But truly, Adrienne, thank you for all the support throughout the years. And to my kids, you guys really are the anchor. When it gets tough and when it gets difficult, all I have to do is look around. Common theme here, look around. Keep your head where your feet are. Pay attention to the world around you. Take it in, process it, and decide what you want to do with it, right? This is going to be the ultimate story of success here. To my niece, Allie, I have a long story. I'm not just a September 11th survivor. I'm a Ray Summers survivor. I tried for the first 30 years rather unsuccessfully to do God knows what to myself, but here I stand. And part of the story involves actually Allie's mom, my sister, who passed away a few years ago from kidney failure. And so seeing her here, seeing her children here, I can feel my sister Maureen here. And I'd like to thank the rest of my family as well. Southern New Hampshire University, thank you. Coming back, walking around, seeing everything. This campus is amazing. I'm gonna have to get a formal tour at some point. But thank you for having me back. I really, it's an honor. It's taken a long time, and we're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna need a little bit of energy. There's not a ton of people in the room. People live streaming. Have no idea how that works. The live streaming I do, but I need some energy here and there. So Andy Kaufman, anybody know Bill Veck? Where's the sports management major? He's still shaking his head no. Doug, do you teach about Bill Veck in sports? I took Tuffy's class, so I learned something. You should know. Bill Veck, Chicago White Sox, sports management. I'll bail you guys out. So Bill Veck was a Bill Levesque was a self-promoter. He was a Chicago White Sox general manager. She knows. Is there a way we can? No, I won't put you on the spot. I don't really know Christina. I just wrote down a few buzzwords and put them on a note card. I always cheated on tests, Doug. I'm just kidding, Doug. I'm just kidding. The good news is I started, so Snoop can't pull the crazy veteran off the stage now. I mean, that headline goes two ways, right? Veteran goes crazy and they put me on Fox News. Snoop pulls crazy veteran off and they go on CNN. It's a lose-lose. Whew. Thank you. That took me a minute or two, but finally, some laughs. My kids say it all the time. It's dad joke humor. What I'd like to do now is actually start by playing a video. So getting a laugh and then transitioning into the day. Again, I am going to formally introduce myself a little more, but I was there. Long story short, took an internship 5 days before I went to New York. That was Monday. Moved down to New York on Saturday. Sunday had dinner. Windows of the World. Monday, first day with the Mets. Media relations intern. September 11th, 2001 happened. So I literally went from here to there, had my first day at work, and then September 11th, 2001 happened. Now, when I was there, and again, we're going to get into the story. I don't want to get too early into the juicy details. I know everybody wants to hear about all the juicy stuff. Ooh, sounds scary. Well, yeah, sometimes. I'm going to start out with this video, and I just want everybody to kind of pay attention to it. This is, again, the first year that I have been able to really sit down and watch a lot of this stuff. I don't remember most of it. As I go through, and I have 20 plus years of not remembering stuff. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? That's just how my body, when something like this happens to you, I can't explain it. I've tried to study it neurologically. I have done everything to try and study what's going on in this noodle. The problem is when it's scrambled to start, and then, just kidding. Thank you, another laugh. So please just watch the video for just a minute, and then afterwards we'll kick off with the rest of it.
I'm on the 81st floor in the South Tower. What I saw was a tiny little speck of a plane. It's getting larger and larger and larger.
Everything you got to World Trade Center now. Oh my God! And there were 30 people in the northeast corner. Gotta get everybody out!
I ran through 3 flights of stairs that were on fire. I had burns on 60% of my body. But I was alive.
Many people ask me, what was it like that day? There were signs of devastation everywhere.
Still around, guys, still around.
But there were also signs of hope. Those little moments of caring for another were the difference between life and death.
He would end every transmission by saying, "I'm coming for you, brother. I'm coming for you."
We're coming for you, brother, we're coming for you.
This is your mother. This is your father. This is a human being.
I felt compelled to respond.
He said, "Mom, I just want to tell you I love you."
That's how you want people to remember you. If we die with them.
Nobody's leaving you. I'm gonna live.
The definitive story. 9/11. One Day in America on National Geographic.
So, does anybody, I want to start, does anybody actually know anybody firsthand in the audience that was at ground zero or your ground zero? Today's my ground zero, sir. You do? Okay. Well, thank them. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, it's just another plane flying into a building. What could happen? That's dark humor, folks. I was there. I can joke about it. See, Dougie, I told you I'd be good. Thank you. This is watching that is a little bit overwhelming, but it took me took me several times rehearsing this over the last few days to try and get through. And I think there's a grand total of 3 videos that I've set up, and the biggest challenge that I have in watching this is around it's something called survivor's remorse, and it's something that's real, and it's something for people that already have wires crossed and everybody's going this way, and for some reason you keep going that way. When you're the person that ends up coming back out and you've left people that are extremely close to you behind, makes you ask a lot of hard questions. And that's where I started to understand and started to spiral and started to look at things. And then I finally found when you get down to the core and you get your head bounced off the curb enough times, right? You keep living through it. It's actually not that bad. You just get dumber and dumber. Just keep grinding. Just keep going. It is what it is. Okay. My upfront contract today is that if you pay attention, whether online or whether sitting here in the auditorium, you will all at some point in time talk about this moment in history, which is part of my goals here. I was there. When I go, what I saw goes with me. Guys, I'm a veteran. I had no clue up until, guys, girls, everybody else, okay? I'm still old. So, but when this happened, there are so many memories that are coming back. You have no idea where everything's going. Pay attention. Don't take chances when you know you should take chances. But this for me, this is history. For you, this should be history. When I go, the story goes with me of what I saw that day. Guess what? What I say to you today, you can read about in books later. And depending on how it goes, if you pay attention, I'll give you first right of refusal to the books or the movies. Yeah, you can laugh. I genuinely think one day there might be a book in my, not the DOD bad kind where everybody's like, oh, government people talking. Won't do that. So I'm here to share my story today of grit, determination, and survivability. 2 quotes here. I'd like, can everybody see them just quickly? The top quote. Just quickly read that, please. All right, so I'm a Ranger Regiment guy, 75th Ranger Regiment, Army, Special Operations Command, and the top quotes, I'm very much into Spartan culture, very much into ancient civilizations. And that top quote for me, it's a herd mentality out there. It's a herd mentality. And so in our community, in the Ranger Regiment veteran community, Colonel Dave Grossman has several great books, the Sheepdog, Wolf, lots of different resources that are out there for you to be able to go read. You don't have to pay to go get a Johns Hopkins educations. You can just get the books and you can read them, okay? But studying and understanding history is where it all starts. And if you can understand yourself, understand history, history does what? Anybody in the crowd? Hell yeah. Those are lacrosse players, by the way. Just want to point out. Paul Calkins, coach of the century. Lacrosse players here, and they know the answer. Okay, history repeats itself. So guess what? All the tribal stuff, studying Native Americans, studying how they lived and how they worked, all of the scribes and everything that they drew it because throughout the years they didn't have iPhones. Oh God, no iPhone. What do we do? Well, we chisel things into rock every year where the sun is, right? They have to pay attention to everything around them. It wasn't fed to them. The second quote, if everybody doesn't mind just taking a quick peek at that quote, somewhat similar. All right. So what do we think between those two? Is there a common message? I'm going to keep wandering over here because you guys are. Anybody else feel that nervous energy, or is it just the first time I've talked about this crap in 20 years and I have a microphone and I'm going to take the suit coat off when somebody answers this question? But anybody see any comments? What are your thoughts on the first versus second? Anybody? What do you think it's trying to say? People are going to laugh at what I say today. People are going to be like, that guy's out there. He thinks he's going to write a book. No, I already wrote the damn book. I just haven't figured out how to get it published yet. Calkins will tell you, I'll figure it out. I sold sausages on Lansdowne Street for years. My wife loved that job. As a community, as a greater community, if we understand ourselves, understand the influences that matter to our community, there's going to be a handful of people, and people are all really good people. The majority of people are really good people. Really, really good people. That's where Colonel Grossman goes with it, right? They're sheep, and that's not a bad thing. You're wandering around, you're grazing, you're happy. Happy, happy. Everybody wants to be happy, right? So 80% are just going to kind of wander and go around about their way, and they're going to live amazing good lives. And then you have about 5 to 10% that are the wolf and then the sheepdog, to use a flock mentality, community analogy, if you will. And of those, the wolves end up losing their sense of community and right and wrong, and the wolf starts to go in for itself. But the sheepdog has that wolf look to it, has that wolf feel to it. And guess what, folks? As a veteran and coming back to the community and as being a 9/11 survivor, I know that feeling. There's something different about you. The difference between the wolf and the sheepdog is that the sheepdog will never hurt the flock. There's just people that run the other way when everybody else is going the correct way, right? If the majority of the people are going that way, they're probably right. Statistically, anyway. Does that make sense to everybody? A little bit? No? Yeah? Okay. So who am I? Good question. Great question. I got here via job search. So New Hampshire's Hero of the Year 2001. I built 2 businesses. Well, I took on a technology company, helped build it into a $60, $70 million a year business. Got bought twice. Anybody here 4-leaf lacrosse? Yeah, cool. I started that. Yeah, I started it. 30 kids on a Monday night in 2013. Michael Hutnick, another alumni, had started it out in California. And I did that here. Started here. Been going strong. And had 600 kids try out last summer. It's going amazing. 501c3, not for profit. And other than my expenses, I haven't taken a dime out of it. You know how much coin I could be putting in my pocket? Because my wife does. Love you. No interest in it, guys. Why? Because of stuff like this. If you can survive stuff like this and you can get through this, so why am I here? Who am I? I'm here searching for a job. Not only am I a Southern New Hampshire University alumni, I'm also currently unemployed. My own fault. I'm me, right? I said, this is Ray Summers' story. Like, if it was easy, it would be Jim Smith's story, right? I've learned a lot, but I showed up and I'm walking the campus with Doug, so I'm doing all the things that a guy in his mid-40s with 3 kids, a dog, a cat, a wife, a house, who loses his job, he does. I do what I'm supposed to do. I got to go provide for my family. So who am I? I'm an all-around good dude trying to reinstate what a good dude looks like. And it's okay to say that. Why? Because I say so. I'm here to try, who am I? I'm trying to get the message out to young people as I'm walking with Doug, and we're talking about the Celtics and we're talking about the dinners. Now, when I was here, everybody was always working really hard to try and set things up for us so we could go network and we could go hustle, because life's about grit, it's about hustle. And we're walking around and Doug's like, oh yeah, we got the Celtics, and talking about all the stuff with the typical Dougie Blaze accent. He gets going. And we start talking. He's like, yeah, man, I'm setting up all these Celtics dinners and everything else, and can't even get the students to come they're on campus. Can't get them to show up on campus. Is everybody ready for a loud noise? And like, it's kind of sort of not a terrible word, but that really pisses me off. Why does that piss me off? Because I'll get into the story in a minute. But I almost had a goddamn building fall on my head, and I volunteered to go down to an unpaid internship, go in debt 7 days before the thing even started at the end of the Mets season. I hate the Mets. I'm a Red Sox fan. Jesus, you know what it felt like walking up Shea Stadium every day, Doug? You know what? I'm sending the therapy bills to you. Don't worry, the VA took care of them. Yeah. Right? But you understand how, from somebody like me that has a family that's standing here, by the way, online career advisor is a job that my application's in for. So hopefully I do a good job the rest of the presentation and get a call back. That'd be awesome. Either that or who's got the problem, the alumni or the school. There went that job. This is awesome. Everybody take a look at that picture. If that doesn't tell you where this presentation's going, I don't know what else to say. How did I get here? Walking and talking to Doug, networking, looking for a job, out there hustling, guy at my age. By the way, fine wine just gets better, boys. Just got to pay attention to it, right? Working hard, trying to network, trying to find a job. Right now, I'm working 3 or 4 different part-time jobs to try and pay my bills while I try and figure everything else out. By the way, when I get the job here at Southern New Hampshire University as a career advisor, they're also going to pay for 2 master's courses. I'm going to go get a clinical psychology degree, master's course. But that's just me. What are you doing with your life? Can't get to Celtics dinner. Neat. Good luck with that. I'm going to invent a bumper sticker that says, my kid's going to kick your kid's ass in the future. I'm entrepreneurial. I got here through networking. I served in 1st Ranger Battalion when I graduated from high school. I barely graduated high school. Come from an interesting background. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents immigrated here after my grandparents from England. Barely graduated high school. I was a class clown. I enjoyed all the finer things in life that any teenage boy would want to enjoy. Sorry, Mom. Again, that's why I wanted to say thank you for coming today, and I love you. I came here after serving in Ranger Battalion, and when September 11th happened and I came back, I was a President's List student. Like, I went in the military, I got myself together. I thought I was on the up and up. I had my first like thing, right, with the whole high school stuff, parents getting divorced, all kinds of crap going on. Went in the Army, got myself squared away. Came here, put myself into college. I had no clue. I didn't even know college existed when I was in high school. Get myself in here, get into school, paying my way through school. Didn't have the same veteran services prior to the global war on terror. We'll get into that a little later. But end up down at ground zero, finish up, try and start a software company. Calkins, you remember this, Town Pool? Hell yeah, it's where everybody goes to be a community, right? I'm what they call a vetrepreneur. There is nothing that I can't figure out with enough energy, time, energy, effort, and grit to make money on. To include, I was the sausage guy down on Lansdowne Street. Pictures coming later. Okay, so that's how I got here, is via, again, just understanding every time you get knocked down, you get back up again. And then you find the next thing, and it's one day at a time, as they say. Why am I here? So cover your ears, not a bad word, but again, I was there and there and there and there, so I can kind of say it. Why am I here? Because a bunch of I'll dummy down the word because I'm not feeling quite the emotion. A bunch of jerks decided that it would be a good idea to go fly a bunch of planes into a bunch of towers and kill a bunch of innocent people. That's why I'm here. It's got nothing to do with me. That's just life, if you understand. I'm here telling one story based on millions of stories. You know how many people were down there? You know how many stories were down there? Lots of people were down there. But I'm here because a bunch of people decided to hate us. I'm a Ranger. I understand what war is. And again, this is where the intensity, I can feel it a little bit, okay? So stick with me. But I know what war is. I know what it looks like. And this was not war. There was nothing that made sense about this. Okay? And that's why I'm here. Now, why am I actually here? Yeah, I'm applying for a job. There's another self plug. Cover my tank of gas on the way down. Thank you. You guys, when I smile, just laugh. Yes, sir. Great question. So it was an interesting one. Should I tell them the honest story, or I still have a public safety officer's badge home? Okay. It was awesome. I was still young, man. I was too young. You know what I mean? It's like the perspective then versus the perspective now. Now I stand here being that guy standing on a stage when I was sitting there. Thank you for asking that question, dude. I dig it. It was good. It was awesome. I was young. I didn't know any better. I was worried about where my feet were, where my head was, probably a little bit too much at points of times. Maybe I should have focused on the future a little more. Right? But it was tough, and it doesn't matter what it is, guys. I'll tell you right now, the biggest epiphany I had, and part of my story I was going to get into later, is that my plan, I wasn't going to live past 30. Yeah, I was making Fast and Furious look like slow and old. Okay? And all of a sudden, your family starts showing up, you reprioritize, you get your head back where your feet are, and you start to realize there's more worth living for than dying for. And I'm telling you, I thought I was John J. Goddamn Rambo himself. Anybody watch Rambo? Oh, thank goodness. I guess nobody wants to laugh at Rambo, though. Chuck Norris is better. This slide here is the last one. I'll move on, but this is a big thing, guys and girls and everybody else. Again, I'm old. Is the old day one for me, up until day one now, choices made in anger can't be undone. They can't be undone. You have to take a step back. You have to remove the emotion. You have to get to at least understand yourself and to be able to take that step back to understand what the hell you're doing. Right? But if it feels right and you're not sure it is, should you be doing it? Why are you doing it? Ask yourself the hard questions. And if you can't answer the hard questions, then don't do it. That's why I brought my mom here today. Keep me in check. Still the only one, Mom. Does everybody understand that? All right, so now the fun part. Now the part where, yeah, there you go, Paulie. NHC, baby. That was not the game where I covered the one-armed attackman from the University of New Haven. And yes, Paul, I'm going to tell the story. So quick snooze story before we get into the survivor story to set the tone. So Paul Calkins, I played for him. I don't know if what I did was played, but that's okay. So we're playing University of New Haven, and they had this young man that had a glove over his arm. Wasn't a full one. Well, Paulie sometimes doesn't pay attention to small details. He's kind of a big picture guy. So he's cradling down, and he's got the stick stuck in his thing, and he's cradling. First 5 minutes of the game, Paul's screaming, "He's all right. He's all right. He's all right." Finally, I come off the field, and I was like, "Calkins, the kid has no left hand." "Oh, shit, bro. Oh, dang. Right? Calkins, you do not lie. You have several versions of the truth, but you do not lie, my friend. I learned from the best, Paul. I learned from the best. So this truly is, for me, dialing it back in just a little bit, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. First of all, it's the opportunity of a lifetime because how many people have a story to tell? How many people, honest to God, feel like they have a story to tell yet in the audience? Yep. Nobody else has a story. Lacrosse players, sports athletes, you never scored a game-winning goal. Like, this doesn't have to be like Tucker Carlson's going to call me after this. Hey, Tucker. What is it? You got one. Okay, cool. You want to share? You don't have to. I'll keep moving. Maybe later. Yeah, you're good. This is the opportunity of a lifetime because, first of all, most people don't realize that you're writer, director of your own book, your own movie, whatever it is. And my book and movie's been all over the map. Again, Andy Kaufman, research him. You'll laugh later. This is the opportunity of a lifetime because I've worked so hard on myself and on making myself and the world around me a better place and not worrying about the little minutia that everybody's trying to push down on me, that I can literally come here and relaunch myself. I literally have never felt better. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand on stage in front of you as a survivor of September 11th, as a former Ranger Regiment guy, as a guy that built a company, helped build a company, got bought twice, was a prep school teacher. That didn't work out great. I like prep schools. They're neat. Doesn't work for me, but can you imagine? This is the ability to talk to you about how I have reinvented myself all the way to I literally don't eat processed foods. My level of self-discipline at this point in my life, because of the clarity that started, is causing a new launch for me. I've been working for months and years on different things. Everything I try and focus on now is positive. I'm kind of a freak. Like, I've literally studied neurologically, like, what's happening to my brain throughout these years, because I believe who better to handle my own care than myself? Just because I didn't go to a medical school, just because I didn't do those things. All of these adults and all these people talk about these phones and all these other things and how bad they are. No, how about teaching how to actually research on them? Your grandparents thought Britannica was, woo. Yeah, the older people laugh. You know what Britannica is? Nah. It's these big things called a book, encyclopedias. Oh, God, I'm old. So what happened with this opportunity? So I got contacted by Doug and Tuffy on September 8th, 2001. I was enrolled in classes. So what happened is the New York Mets had an intern that ended up leaving. So they had a last minute opening and they needed a last minute intern. It was the end of the season. So I was enrolled in classes, ready to go. Again, veteran, so I just transitioned or was transitioning out of the military. And Doug and Tuffy, I still to this day have no idea why, but they had enough trust to come down and say, hey, we got this last minute thing, but the Mets called and, there's really only a couple people we think could handle it. And I was like, well, what is it? Well, you have to move to New York on Saturday. But I'm enrolled in classes. I was actually going back then too, Paul. Had to unenroll in classes. I made the decision to go, hell yeah. I wanted to work for the Mets. I wanted to work in professional sports. I had my dream. I was chasing that dream feverishly. So I volunteered. I went down. That was Monday. That was actually Tuesday. So made arrangements, unenrolled in classes, found a Ranger buddy that was living in New York City, moved down on Saturday. Now, these two pictures here, one is of me as a sausage guy, circa, I don't know, 2004, something like that. And then the other one is me with my daughter just a couple of years ago on the same sausage car. I did not pick the art. I didn't paint the art, none of that other stuff. So I'll tell you the guy who did if you ask. But it's all about hustle, right? You can't get out of the dorm. You can't get up here to come talk to the Celtics. What are you doing? Again, I'm going to get a little heated. What are you doing? Why? Because I'm a tax-paying citizen, because I'm a guy that almost had a building fall on his head. And even after that, when I graduated, while I'm working to try and make enough money, because I've been out on my own since I'm 13, I'm now hustling, hawking sausages on the side of the road. Why? Because it's what I got to do. You got to hustle. So if you're sitting there waiting, same thing with this opportunity. I'm applying for jobs all over the place, right? You think I'm overqualified for an entry level position? Maybe. But instead of waiting for the hiring managers to come back, Bill Veck sets up an interview. I bet I get a call back one way or the other. You want a job? You want to feed your family? You want to do what you have to do? Get off your ass. Stop standing around looking at everybody else. You got to hustle. You got to have grit. Move-in day, when I got down to New York City, it was insane. The parking, I'm from New Hampshire. Is there anybody from New York City in the, no? No? New Hampshire to New York City, I didn't like it. I'm a country boy. And I'll say it, because that's okay. So I get down on Saturday. So Tuesday, getting in Saturday, Sunday, we go have what I'm calling the Last Supper. Does anybody know where Windows of the World was? Top floors, 106th, 107th floor of the World Trade Center. I put this slide up because I didn't take any pictures that night because I had a Nextel flip phone, one of the little chirpy ones. I worked for them once. Remember that, Doug? You bought phones from me. I know you did. I know you did, Doug. Guess what I'm selling next? So, and I'm going to take a quick second here and just have everybody take a look at that screen and look at that skyline. That used to exist. On Tuesday, I'm enrolled in classes. I get asked to go to an unpaid internship, do all this other stuff. Sunday, I was up there, walking around, taking it all. What do you think I was thinking about Sunday night? Anybody? Up there? Let's see, I'm 23-something years old, right? I'm living in New York City. What do you think I was thinking? Oh God, this is kind of high for a plane to fly into. Thank God I'm all the way up here, I'm safe. No, before 2 days from now, that stuff didn't really exist. It never happened. Why? Because I was on the ground at a moment in time in history, and I'm just starting to realize how big it was. Okay, so spent the night up there looking around, taking a look at everything. When the story that I want to tell about that Sunday is when I had to go take the 7 train out to Flushing. So New Hampshire kid, never really been on the subway. And I just remember when I came out of that tunnel, and then Adrian was actually with me. We were coming up to Shea Stadium, my buddy Tanner, and I was just like, this kid, man. I was just like, outside of the fact it was the Mets again, okay? 1986, it was a not so great year. But when I pulled up and started walking around Shea Stadium, I was like, oh my God, imagine I'm going to be vice president of sales. I'm going to be this, that, the other thing. If you had told me that I would be standing on this stage in front of you right now talking about whatever it is that I'm going to talk about, I tell you, you're crazier than I am. And I haven't even started the good parts of the story yet. Take it all in. Keep your head where your feet are. Pay attention. Have I said anything about researching my, whatever? Do you think that I was looking at phones that night? You think I was horsing? No, I mean, yeah, I was having a good time. Don't get me wrong. But no. Finish up on that. Get up on Monday. I had taken the train a couple times, and sports management majors, I know we got one. How many other sports management majors do we have? 2, 3, 4. You guys done your internships yet? Yeah? Where'd you do your internship? Yeah. Awesome. Good, so 1 internship. That's good. Internships are awesome. I don't know how many copies I made. So I showed up as a Ranger Regiment guy, and I get there, and it was awesome. They walked me around the stadium real quick, and they literally plugged me into this copy room, and they were like, here, we need 1,000 of So I actually found it, brought it with me today, but thanks, Dougie. So this is what I started working on right away. The media relations guide. This is what I was going to go. The opportunity of a lifetime. And I'm in the basement of Shea Stadium printing out and binding these. That was what I was doing. That was my opportunity of a lifetime. Do you think that when I got there and started doing that I thought that was the opportunity of a lifetime anymore? Not for a couple hours anyway. So I got the tour, I got around, I started to figure out what I was going to do, but that's where the story starts to take a twist. Typical first day, meet the front office, meet everybody, get an idea for what we're doing. So this was my first day. Everybody understands that this was the first day of my unpaid internship, September 10th, 2001. Second day's got to get better, right? Less copies, maybe a little more action. Well, I'll say it took a turn. I'm going to come into the pictures here and I'm going to back into that, but this is my story, so I'm going to tell it. We went out after the first day of work and we didn't go home. Me and my army buddy, in New York City, they keep the bars open 24 hours. September 10th, 2001. And where was my dumbass? Locked in a bar from 6 to 7 in the morning because they had to legally close for an hour. And they said, get out or stay in, but we're locking the doors. So literally the night that never ended turned into September 11th, 2001. So went back, showered. So you can imagine the whirlwind that this 23, however old guy is going through. And here's what I remember. I'm pretty sure that we were pretty well sober, but I knew I was going to be sitting in the copy room anyway. The hell could I be doing on the second day? I'll just go in there, It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So we popped out, and as we came out, I'm in my nice suit that I went and bought and didn't know anything about New York City, not much. And as we came out, everybody started like hubbubbing and hustling in the train and looking around. And I was like, what is going on here? So we looked over and I thought it was like a dumpster fire from New Jersey, honest to God. Everybody's like, oh, New Jersey. The place is like, whew, garbage all over the place, right? So I thought New Jersey caught on fire or something. Well, then all of a sudden people started really getting going. Then it looked like the World Trade Center was on fire. And I was like, World Trade Center? I think that's where that restaurant was that I went to dinner on Sunday night. So by the time I got to Shea Stadium, they were setting it up as what's called an FTU, a forward triage unit. And I still didn't have a clue what's going on because, again, no iPhones, no updates, no Twittergram, face feed, whatever. So we go upstairs, and I ran upstairs to the front office. Second day on the job. Literally, I had people in the front office going, who are you? I was like, I'm the unpaid intern that was supposed to be down in the copy room making those media relations things. So they said, yeah, go sit over there. Yeah, I got to laugh. Go sit over there. So as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to what's going on, I'm looking at the TVs, and I start figuring out that this ain't good. I hear the fire chief, or assistant fire chief for Queens, talking to the team. The team was in Pittsburgh that night, and it was an off night, and they were playing Tuesday night on the 11th in Pittsburgh. So basically, they said we think the towers are going to start to collapse, and if that happens, we're going to lose any ability to do any forward triage on any patients. And so they started putting together little small teams of people to do things. And the team was like, well, we got nobody. Like the team's down there, no trainers, no, we got nobody. Well, the intern's just sitting over in the corner. And I was like, I'll go. Everybody was like, who's that guy again? Where do you come from? Oh, that's that kid from Canada. Isn't New Hampshire a province of Canada? That's what they think in New York. So they kind of looked around. They're like, "Who are you?" I was like, "Look on my resume. Former Ranger Regiment guy, nationally registered EMT." I didn't tell them my certification had run out. I didn't think details at that moment. Checked my qualifications later. You're about ready to stuff me in the back of a police truck and drive me to a goddamn 3,000 person mass grave. Didn't know that at the time either. Okay, so then when the towers did collapse, here's how it went down. They came walking up. They gave me a ledger. The assistant chief gave me a ledger and said, "Sign your name here." And for those that have done it, and thank you. And those that have done it in the audience, thank you. For the second time in my life, I signed a blank check with my body. For the second time in my life, I recklessly signed a check with something that I didn't own. So when I hear that people can't get over to the dining hall to go sit with the Celtics, I'm sorry if I get a little pissed. Grand total of twice. We'll get later into how many times I signed up and registered for things in the military. Whew. Statistical anomaly, 2 thumbs, looks like this guy. Right, Mom? Where was I, Doug? He doesn't know. So I get this bag. I was able to find one glove, and everybody can come up, take a look later. That is the World Trade Center concrete. What's left of it still on the bag. If that let that sink in, 20 years and it's still there. Okay, so I grabbed this bag. They gave me this bag, and they loaded me up in the back of a police truck. And I'm gonna use this one while I take this jacket off. Is it hot in here, or am I the guy that's telling the story? You can laugh. It's okay. It's all right. And thank you again. This is again the first time that I've actually come out and talked about this. I've talked about bits and pieces of it. Paulie and I were joking. Landman was like, "Summers was at ground zero?" Come on, Red. Come on, Redbeard. You guys still call him that? Something like that. So they load me up into the back of a truck. Police truck, got a cap on it. They say, "Hey, hop in here. We're going to bring you down." As I stand here today, I didn't have the first clue what the hell I was getting myself into. Just some kid that was like, "Hell yeah, the 2 biggest buildings in the world fell down. Let's hop in the back of a police truck and take a little jaunt." Dude, perspective, I wouldn't do that today. I have a family. So if you want to live, have a family sooner. Just be ready to pay for them, please. So they drive me all the way down. The biggest thing that stuck out to me as far as walking down there and being dropped off is the 2 cops, unpaid intern, signed a ledger, was given a bag, was still in my suit for the internship. And I get out and you couldn't see anything. We were like 8 blocks from the World Trade Center. Now, again, I'm from New Hampshire. I don't have a clue where I am. I can track a deer from here to Timbuktu. You think I can find my way from F Street to C Street? Not in that dust, not in what was going on down there. So as I'm getting out, I grab my bag, I throw it on my shoulder, and I take off. And I start going. And as I start walking, the 2 cops, all I hear is, "Hey." And I turned around. And thank you, because I'm literally visualizing this now. I'm remembering what's going on now. I haven't thought about it. I turned around and I looked at those 2 cops, and New Yorkers like to use the F word, right? They looked at me and they're like, yo, bro, you're effing nuts, bro. We got insurance. We ain't going that way, bro. I got 2 NYPD cops telling me you're going the wrong way, you jackass. Guess what I did? What do you think that my kids know this story? I told my kids this piece of the story. What do you think the first thing I was when I got down there and started, like, once the cops pulled away, of course? It's the first thing you think I did. It's called, in the military world, it's called a combat crap. Okay, when you're going into a disaster situation, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you relieve yourself. Because as tough as you think you are, tough person, when it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And I don't care if you're 6'4", 280, or you're 5'1", 130. So I went over to the corner of this building, there was dust and soot everywhere. And I went over, and the first thing that I did when the cops turned around and went the other way is I started peeing on a wall. Again, remember, I hadn't gone to bed yet. Whoopsie. Right? I got the R-A-Y was H-E. There was nobody. There was no one in New York City. Everybody was going the other way. So I get down there and again, show up. Same thing as the intern. I show up. I got a suit on. I got this bag. I got this little dust mask. Wish I had kept that. Joke. So I take this little dust mask and the bag and my gloves and I start walking down. Well, as I get closer to the site, the New Yorkers again. Hey, who the F are you? I'm just an intern, man. They told me to go this way with this bag and maybe something somewhere. By the time I got there, there was nothing left to see. There were papers flying everywhere. There were pieces of people's paper calendars that I was handling. Every time I stopped digging, the first thing that crossed my mind is get back to digging. Because the minute I'd look at that calendar, there was a name in that calendar. And with that name comes a face. And with that face comes a child. And with that face comes a mother. That's where I was. Second day of my internship. There were several things that stuck out to me on that day. The first thing that we had to do is, again, as the intern, nobody knew who I was, didn't have a uniform or anything. I'm just carrying around this bag of dust. Is they had us go. We were picking up pieces, okay? We were picking up pieces, and that was what we could find. Everything else was granulated. Everything else was granulated with the exception of a couple of the pictures that you've seen, some of the beams. And so we were moving it down into One Liberty Plaza and take a look at the map, but we're moving because we're trying to find remains. We're trying to find remains to bring home to the families so that the families could have closure on the largest, didn't know it at the time, but the largest terrorist attack on US soil at the time. That's what I was doing for hours. Well, all of a sudden, One Liberty was the biggest building that was left. And all of a sudden they said, hey, they opened up the port coming into New Jersey. There was this little church over there where I got a couple hours of rack, but all of a sudden we moved over there because it was safer. The buildings were a lot closer to the ground. And all of a sudden they go, we just got told we got to go try and get the remains because they think One Liberty's coming down. What sane person says, I'll go do it? Not me. I've thought about this a million times sitting here looking at my children. Hold on, time out. Let me replay this for everybody to hear. I've been 2 to 3 times already with building all this other stuff. I brought a bunch of body parts into a building, and then we're safe over here, and now they want me, the intern, to go back down and go help bring those bags back across so we can load them on boats and get the remains over. Of course I'll do it. Because I know, based on my community, that we all come back. It's a non-negotiable. It's a thing with us, okay? Because we understand what community is. We understand what brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever you want to call it is. And so, yeah, I went back over. Wouldn't do it today. Okay, that's they picked the right people for the job. I mean, I kept saying yes. So we went back over, and here we are running through again. It's not like this. Please picture, if you will, it's not like this. There's no lights. It's in the basement of One Liberty. There's concrete everywhere. There's lights. There's beams. There's shit falling all over the place. Okay, it's not like this. And we drag everything back across. We get it over. We get it on the boats. We get it loaded up. Whew. Okay, that's done. That's good. Now, that afternoon, as a ranger, I always have some kind of a pace plan. So as we're out digging in the pile, looking at all this stuff, but 2 buildings have fell. Building 7 hasn't gone down yet. And foreshadowing. So we're working and trying to clean everything up. Now, I was looking as I was down there where everything had collapsed and fell, where the piles were. There was livable airspace underneath some of the fire trucks and some of the ambulances and stuff like this. This is bringing me to my next point, and I want to do a really quick. It's going to seem a little bit different, but again, a visualization thing just so that you all can understand and see where you're at and then see where we end up. But I want everybody really quick, just close your eyes. Everybody just close your eyes. Bear with me. Based on that video, based on what you know about September 11th, think about everything falling. Think about the papers, think about the concrete, think about the noise. There's no screams, there's no noise, there's just iron, there's just burning, there's some yelling here and there, and everybody says be quiet so that the dogs can listen. All of a sudden, the building down the street, well, I'm gonna ask you one question in a second. I'm gonna ask you one question, and when I say go, I just want that answer to immediately pop in your head. As all of this stuff is falling, you see everybody running the other way. Everybody's going the other way. And then all of a sudden, another building goes down. Hey, open your eyes for me. Which way do you go? Which way do you go? Which way do you go? You go with the people or against them? On the end with the hat. Against them? Anybody going with them? Yeah, thank you. My wife's like, I married the dumbass that runs that way. Okay? Well, yeah, I'm something. I'm alive. A statistical anomaly by the grace of God. Listen, it's one thing to do this. The reason why I did that visualization, okay? Go with your gut. But the thing is if you haven't prepared for that moment, if I hadn't worked my ass off in the military and coming here and getting good grades in school and working hard and doing all that other stuff, Doug and Tuffy never would have given me the opportunity to be there. So if I hadn't worked my ass off to that point, I wouldn't have the opportunity to go be there. And then when I was there, I happened to volunteer and go be a ranger and go in the Army and get all this medical training and all this other stuff. Because I guarantee you that if I was just a media relations intern, no offense, nobody's saying I'm picking up a bag and going. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't. It takes 4 to carry 1 out. Does anybody know what that means? It takes 4 healthy people to carry 1 hurt person out of an emergency situation. So if you don't know what you're doing, appreciate the sentiment that you want to go this way. Sometimes just pump the brakes and be like, all right, I'm not saying I'm not going to go that way. The lesson is you don't have to immediately be the squirrel in the road like I was and decide which way to go. Take a second and figure it out. So we're about 10 to 15 feet underneath the South Tower, which the South Tower was just across from One Liberty. We were up in between the towers, 10 to 15 feet down in an air pocket. And I'd been looking at all those beams and all those trucks and seeing the livable airspace. And all of a sudden I hear this terrible rumbling. And it was on a rescue line. And all of a sudden I just see these lamps coming back towards me. Intern underneath 10 to 15 feet of rubble, lamps coming out. You know what? I'm going this way this time. I don't know why, but my gut is telling me that all the lights going that way, I might want to go that way. I came flying out of that thing. Me and a ranger buddy that were there ended up diving underneath this refrigeration truck that's right underneath the right next to the Burger King, across from One Liberty. And there's video coming up, but we were buried. And we laid there, and this is where the dark sense of humor comes in. Like when you put yourself through life and you make it and you are a survivor, you start to figure out how much you can take and how you can't, and how to rely on yourself more and more, which is the key. Is we were laying there, my ranger buddy and I were both kind of like, the first couple of minutes, we were like, we don't think this was the best idea. And it just dawned on me. I'm like, dude, for a guy that wants to be dead by the time he's 30, you're trying awful hard to live. Well, maybe that moment I was living for is now. Maybe something I say today, if people are paying attention, will have an impact. Maybe it'll matter. I don't know. It's up to you. That's your story. This one's just mine. I just happened to volunteer in 8 days to go down, have buildings almost fall on my head, do all that other stuff. But you're right. You can't walk across the quad when it's raining. Sounds hard. So the building went down. We're laying underneath there, wondering what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Was this the best idea? And then here's the dark comedy. I chew tobacco. I don't drink, don't do, my body's clean, but I still chew tobacco. Next year, I'm done. I'm going to have a plan next year for how to quit chewing tobacco. It's the last thing I got to do. We looked at each other and we're buried under a refrigeration truck. What do you say to someone that you're buried under the refrigeration truck for the first time? Any Tinder advice? How would we Tinder, right? We literally looked at each other at that point, and I was like, hey, bro, I was like, you got any Copenhagen? Yeah, you got Flap? You got Flip? You got Flap? What do you got, right? And he looked at me and he smiled. And he goes, oh, I don't know if he was from New York, but he said, we're really effed now. You don't have Copenhagen? I was like, dude, I don't have Copenhagen. We're laying buried under a refrigeration truck. We just got done talking about how long we're going to be here. We don't know why. Was this the best decision? Because it would have been a lot faster if we stayed out there. Think about that. I might be stuck here. The thought might have crossed my mind that I was going to die under a goddamn refrigeration truck at an unpaid, at least I don't have to pay off my school loans. That would have been a good one. Joke, you can laugh. Right? Think about that moment in time, but that levity, to be able to take a step back. One thing that I learned through all of this stuff and all of my training and everything else is that when you feel like you're in a tunnel and you're not sure where you're going, like me now, standing here in front of you applying for a job. Hopefully I'm doing okay. Am I doing all right, guys? Would you guys hire me? Calkins, you heard it first, all right? I'll go fundraise some money for another assistant. I got nothing but time, buddy. The final story that two quick ones. The first one, the hardest one that hit me was when I came back and first time I actually went to counseling because I didn't have a clue what counseling was at this age, just that I needed it. And the one memory that when I was speaking to the counselors that actually caused me to grieve, for quite candidly the first and only time, I still haven't, that's part of what I'm doing today, so thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to be here. And I mean it. Is that there was I'm going to get through this one. So there was a firefighter that we'd been there for about 3 days. There was a firefighter. This is the day before Bush comes. I'll go to the next slide because I know everybody's getting bored of staring at my ass. There was a firefighter, and we'd been up for 2 or 3 straight days, and we'd been digging and just, I mean, there wasn't much joy in Whoville. If there's any Dr. Seuss folks, okay? And there was this firefighter, and this guy was, they were trying to remove him from the pile, and he's fighting with the cops. He's fighting with everybody else now again. Who's in the area? Forrest Gump, the intern. So I could see that they were all heated. They were all firefighters. They were all New York cops. I'm not from New York. Like, their level of frustration was 10 times mine. Bro, I'm not from here. Like, am I pissed? Yeah, I'm pissed. I didn't even know what was going on. these guys are getting ready to go hands. And so I go over there and I just kind of stepped in between. And I said, bro, what are you doing? And he had this little teddy bear. And he stood there and he was shaking and he stared and he looked at me. And he said, my wife and kids were in that goddamn tower. And he was holding that teddy bear. And for whatever reason, he knew to call the intern. My wife says all the time, you attract the craziest goddamn people. It takes one to know one. This guy looked at me and was like, do not let them take me off this pile. Can you imagine being a father, a husband, a wife, and being there and having your child and your wife? You want to know how I feel about it? Ask me later when it's not on video. Okay? That was one of the hardest things that I had to do. And we sat there and we talked for like a half hour. We went down to church. We talked. I just got him relaxed. And then we walked him back up to the pile. And he went back on the line. And I never saw him again. And that was the first thing that was the first and only time that I really broke down. And that was the first and last time that I went to a counselor for probably 10 to 15 years. And it was actually here. I was sitting with the school counselor. Didn't go back. I went in there and I started crying and I didn't go back for like 10 years. Couldn't figure out why I was so intense, couldn't figure out what was going on. But the final story, and then I'll move on to President Bush showing up, it's a quick one, is that society rebuilds itself. One of the coolest stories that I took away, and cool is relative, right? Your cool is TikTok, my cool is society regenerating itself on a mass grave. Wonder why you're so intense. Wonder why you throw off this energy. Ever stand on a mass grave? No. Well, I have. Sorry if I don't fit your vibe. Oops. Need folks like us. Until you don't anymore. We'll get into the veterans part later. The cops and the street people started fighting with each other because they were bringing supplies in from New Jersey, and I'll never forget it. The intern goes down and stops a bunch of cops from beating a bunch of bums. Why? Because society was regenerating itself. They're standing on a mass grave. It's moving forward whether you're going with it or not. I had to go down there and stop the cops. I'm like, they're doing what they know to do. They're street people. They live out on the street. They're bringing in plenty of supplies for us. We don't need any more stocks. Bro, I just boosted Brooks Brothers. I look good. Because I knew El Presidente was coming. I'm not going to be in no scrubs. I got Brooks Brothers. But we're watching, and I'm watching society literally rebuild itself on a mass grave, man. And I had that perspective on the spot. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I did. We did it the other night. My wife and I went out on a date night. There's street people kicking a tar out of a street person in Manchester, New Hampshire. Next thing, the door flies open out. I go, my wife's like, what the hell are you doing? Dude's getting his teeth kicked in. It's not your business. I know. Nothing's really my business, is it? Right? But it regenerates and it rebuilds. You got to go with it. So Thursday night, Friday morning, went into Brooks Brothers, which was in One Liberty, which was stable enough at that point. Went in, got some nice socks, slacks, everything else. And when President Bush showed up, the only thing I really have to say about this is around just how genuine he was. I don't like politics. I don't like politicians. I'm a warrior. Every time a warrior sees a politician walk in the room, it's like, oh shit, here we go again. Policy change, isn't it? Whoops, did I say it? Yeah, there's nothing political about it. I'm not a soldier anymore. Policy change. He was a true American. What I saw out of that man was leadership on that day. I think that everybody makes mistakes. I think everybody does things for a reason. And I'm telling you right now, it's one of the biggest things that I want to say is like, stop this conspiracy theory crap. Stop. Again, controllables. What are you doing? Were you there? No. Then shut up, please. Please stop, man. we got our asses kicked. The perfect angles, the perfect flight, all the other things, the gasoline, the way it went down the other, there's no conspiracy theory. Just stop, please, for the survivors. Can you please stop? Everybody wants to think and tweet and do all these other things, and everybody talks about diversity, and everybody talks about equality, and everybody talks about injustices. Why? Because it sounds cool. Because it's a movement. That's not a movement. That's something that you're jumping on. Go start another movement. Go volunteer to move to New York. Just don't sit in your room when they're setting up the stuff to go make jobs. What are you guys doing? Does that make sense? Seize the opportunity. I know, I've lost weight. Hey, not drinking has lots of good effects. So this picture was taken actually just after George Bush left when I was going back down because I had to go back to that thing called an internship. I'm going to stop right here for a couple minutes for just any questions because I'm going to start moving away from like what I saw at Ground Zero, and I'm going to start reflecting on when I had to go back to the Mets and kind of wrapping things a little bit here. Can I get a time check? Because I did shut my phone off. 3:18. All right, a little bit longer than I wanted, but that's okay. It's my story. Any questions? I'm serious. I'd like a yes, sir. Great question. So we laid there. Eventually, what happened is we were far enough down. We were about a block and a half, 2 blocks away. We were far enough down from Building 7. So Building 7 was up north, and we were in between the North and South Tower. And so we button hooked out of the air pocket, ran down towards past Brook Brothers, and then it was covered enough that when you do a damage assessment, like you don't want to just, if you're buried under something, and this is because I was trained to do it, you don't want to just start digging your way out, right? Because, for skiers or for anybody else, you start digging your way out, what happens? Like the air you have might go away pretty quick. So we laid there for a while, and I don't know what time, because I lost my watch at some point. But we just laid there for a while, and then all of a sudden we heard like faint footsteps and digging, and long story short, our plan had worked because it covered up there was a few feet of debris and everything else. So I was blessed. There was enough stuff over the top of us to scare the rabbit turds out of us, but not enough to bury us there. So a couple hours into it, all of a sudden we started hearing some, I say lots of funny analogies and stuff like that, guys. I don't know where they come from. So a couple hours laying under there, and then we heard some noises, voices. They started digging, and eventually we saw some light coming through, so we knew people were getting close enough, but we weren't buried as bad as we thought we were. we were just laying under a refrigeration truck bitching about not having Copenhagen at that point, I think. Be perfectly candid with you again. Any other questions or about the actual, we can always come back to it? No? So when I finished up and I left, the only thing I can remember is just the impact of all of the signs, and as you moved away, like the debris was getting cleared up. And the night that I went back, surprise, surprise, went straight to a bar. Whew, shocker. And it was wild, man. People were buying you drinks, and people were like, "Oh, you're this, that, the other thing." And I was an unpaid intern, so I didn't even have enough money to get home. I was stuck in New York City. Most people don't really know that. So I'm resourceful, so I got a free Amtrak ticket. It doesn't take much, guys. Just a little effort. And I didn't have anything, and it just, the impact of that night and being out, as I was walking back, and I had my bag, and I think my mom finally threw my clothes out. That I had a bag of. Did you throw those out? Good. I had my clothes, my Brooks Brothers stuff that I came walking back with, that had all that stuff, and it took years and couldn't throw it out. But it was just how normal everything was. Like literally outside of where I just was, they were buying me drinks and shots and calling me a hero and all this other stuff. And it's like the enormity when it's happening, you have no idea. So you better be prepared. You better keep your head screwed on, and you better make solid decisions. And sometimes making those solid decisions is making the decision to not make a decision at all at that present time. Does that make sense to everybody? Couple more quick videos. I'm going to show one of them for the sake of time. But remembering the game for New York, this was extremely difficult for me. So we returned, we came back. They had away games, so it wasn't that big of a deal. The first home game, there's a lot of memories that I've put into boxes. And as I was trying to watch this video, I was sitting there. And so think about this, please. Please think about this. History. Think about me sitting on my couch and I'm watching a video of the first game back at Shea Stadium that I was at. You know what I remember from that? Anybody? Anybody? What do you think I would remember? First day back. The game's going, they're doing ceremonies, they're doing all this other stuff. Where's the media guides? Where's the printers? Yeah. Up until this last week, in 20 years, I had never thought about this ceremony. When I watched it this week, I couldn't remember a thing. And then I started thinking about it, and I've watched this video like 5 or 6 times, and I set this up to play the video. I couldn't remember where I was because I was in the bullpen like this. Yeah, the hero that you see standing in front of you was hiding from recognition because the team wanted to bring me out on the field. And I went and I hit. Why is this important to me? Because what was a negative, where I was like, why? Why can't I remember? What is wrong with me, right? Everybody keeps telling me that there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. I've figured myself out to the point that I don't need much from anybody. I can rely on myself. I can rely on my family, right? So I'm not ashamed to say that when they wanted to pour recognition on me, bring me out on the field, do all those other things, that's when my ass ran and hid, right? But I couldn't remember it. I'm going to play it now, and this was the first game back on the 21st in New York.
Things in a different life, in a different perspective. You know, I was 23.
I'm a good time.
You could not have written a more dramatic, a more compelling, perhaps a more perfect script for tonight's game. The Mets beat the Atlanta Braves by a score of 3-2.
And on a night when baseball came back to the Big Apple, a big hit for Mike Piazza. A 1-out, 2-run homer off Steve Carsey.
20 years later, we're in your hometown where you grew up.
Yeah.
Can you appreciate the moment? You ever go back and watch it?
I watch it every year.
Does it get easier?
There are a lot of people, they walk on eggshells when that comes around. Like, it doesn't bother me. It happened. Like, it's part of the journey. And at the end of the day, if that small piece or that home run helped a city unite, I never want to lose a game. But if there was one that we were going to lose, that might have been it.
Yeah.
This city needed that. This crowd needed that. Maybe this was meant to be.
Initially, the thought of playing a baseball game when we did seemed insignificant. When Mike Piazza hit that home run and we saw everything that transpired and all those shots and all those videos and all that emotion, I realized 100% it was the right remedy for people to start thinking forward as opposed to what just transpired. The magnitude of what it meant There's nothing higher than that game.
Really looking back, it was the right time. The impact that it had on the New York community, the state of the country, I know had a huge impact on me to put things in a different life, in a different perspective. You know, I was 23 at the time, so you're starting to still find yourself and figure things out. But it definitely was the most meaningful game I played in.
And a very emotional night that they will never, ever forget.
Each year, this time of year, it's the one thing that stands out the most is that 2001, 9/11 happened, and we were the first ones to come back here and play in that game. We'll never forget that moment, ever.
If you've witnessed this and you didn't get choked up, then you're not breathing.
Anybody ever have anything meaningful happen to them? Anything? You remember when? Do you remember why? Think about it. Big moments in your life. Think about them. What do you remember about them? Because I stand here in front of you as a guy that statistically shouldn't be here, and I'm done forgetting. I'm done forgetting. You need to take the accountability for yourself. You need to control yourself. You need to understand yourself. And then you need to take care of your 3-foot bubble so that you can remember where you were. You need to remember where you were. You need to remember what you did. You need to make the best decision that you can make. And then you need to own it. Again, I've said it a million times, but my perspective today is completely different than my perspective yesterday. The point is that you make it from day to day. So what are you doing today to wake up a better version of yourself? Are you going to worry about what happened 2 years ago? Am I going to worry about what happened 20 years ago anymore? No. I can't worry about that anymore. It's done. It's over with. So how do I screw it up? Keep focusing on it. Don't learn from it. Don't pay attention to it. Keep my nose in the phone. And if I ignore it, it'll go away. Keep your head where your feet are. The last game I had a ton of great memories. So this is the perspective. This is the new day zero. This is the thing I've been working on for months and years. Is a positive spin on it. So the internship went amazing. It was a ton of fun. I didn't just make copies. Any Mets fans in the house? No Mets fans. That's all right. Bob Murphy, Hall of Fame radio announcer. I got to work in the radio booth because I did such a good job in the copy room. It's pretty sweet. Guess what I did in the radio booth? I used to go get Bob Murphy Cokes, Diet Cokes in one cup of ice in the other one. I'd bring it back to the radio booth. Hall of Fame announcer. He'd dump his rum into the ice, dump his Diet Coke into the rum, and then light up a butt. And I was sitting right behind him working in the radio booth. Timo Perez was on the team at the time. I'm going to close with what I've done since I finished, but I happen to speak a couple languages. And so I was the only one that spoke Spanish that was in and around. And so I had to take Timo Perez because everybody wanted to work with Mike Piazza and all the stars. Timo Perez was like this nobody. I don't even know how long he played. That dude used to drag me around everywhere looking for engagement rings. I swear to God, he spoke English. He was just screwing with me. Okay, I had a lot of great memories. And I'm done looking back. I'm done looking at things in a negative light. I'm done being told what to do. I'm done being told what not to do. Why? Because I've studied myself so well that I know what a good person I am. I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know I'm going to screw things up. I'm a human. That's the way we wired. But I'm going to work hard. I'm going to understand what's going on around me. I'm going to make my decisions, and then I'm going to own them. The last game, I candidly, and I'm sorry, Doug, in advance, because I literally don't remember. I left like a day or two early. I think you and Tuffy got a ration of shit. But I couldn't stay. I couldn't be there for the last game. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to hear about it. And so I just The one super irresponsible decision that I made that I'm taking ownership of now is that I bounced. And when I came back, I remember Tuffy was pissed for a couple days. And he was like, what happened? What's going on? You left the internship with like a day and a half left and all this other stuff. I didn't know why. I was just like, yeah, Tuffy, I just, couldn't make any more copies. Now I know why. That day was one of the most impactful days, the largest terrorist attack on our soil. And I was there. So Doug, I apologize again. Causing Tuffy, God bless your soul, a little bit of heartache. Final 2 slides and we're out of here. So thank you again. This picture here over on the left is these 2 pictures are 2 of the most beautiful skies, 2 of the most beautiful places that I've ever been in the world. And what I've realized on my journey, so my journey, I graduated from SNU barely. Again, you think about it, when you're in the moment, take a step back, pull yourself out of that tunnel. When I was here, I went from being a President's List student to volunteering to go do all this stuff, being extra motivated, know yourself. All of a sudden, when I come back, I'm not going to class, not showing up to class. I'm almost failing. Thank God for Gus. President Gustafson, I shouldn't have graduated technically from Southern New Hampshire University because some liberal arts teacher failed me on a class because I wasn't cool in the class. I was a jerk. I should have been failed. Well, Gus was like, dude, we got to get you out of here. Give me your military records. I'll give you the liberal arts credit. We need you out of here. Right? So what did I do when I left? I tried to start a software company, CRM system before CRM was CRM. It was NCAA recruiting software. We were in the 3rd phase of beta trial. We had all kinds of people signed up. We were killing it, and the NCAA released a free version. Whoops. There went our biggest investor. So I could have quit there. No, I wasn't done with that. What did I do? I went to work for this regional sports company, building sports camps for kids. I'm in the construction business, so I'll be really, really quick. I worked as a sales rep, selling phones, hawking sausages on Lansdowne Street. I did guerrilla marketing. I went out and handed out cereal boxes for 25 bucks an hour. I almost cut my finger off at a Mr. Yoshida teriyaki truck, Cape Cod. I'm a hustler. Straight up. I'm a good one. I've literally started calling myself the Riverboat Gambler. I'm just always betting on myself because I'm better than most, so I end up winning. It's all about perspective. Does that make sense? So I helped build a technology company. 60, 70 million, got bought twice. I built 4-leaf lacrosse. I went to work at a place called Proctor Academy. Okay, so I finished up, sold the company for the 2nd time, and I found my dream job. I've always wanted to coach lacrosse. I've always wanted to run a program, right? I've never actually had a team of my own. Got to learn from the best here, Polly Walnuts, for a few years, but yeah, it's a good one. Look into those eyes, they're enchanting. So I went to my dream job. I was going to take a step back. I was going to relax. I wanted nothing. I didn't want money. I didn't want title. I didn't want anything. I just wanted to be able to process the last 15, 20 years of my life. Well, you know what I got with my dream job? Goodness gracious, not necessarily a dream. Amazing place. We're going to travel some amazing places. Gardez, Afghanistan. Right here. Everybody know where that is? No, you don't. It's where every great empire has gone to die. Fact. I was there. See this right up here? That's where Genghis Khan, that's where Alexander the Great, that's where the Romans, that's where every great empire has gone to die. My friends and I lived there for a little while. Let me tell you a little story. The sky there versus the sky in New Hampshire, the 2 most beautiful skies I've ever seen. My story that I'm here to tell you is that where you are is what you make of it. Gardez, Afghanistan, people are like, how in the hell is that? I lost friends there. How is that beautiful? How is it the sky? It is gorgeous. The people, all the other things. It is beautiful. You think it's one of the more worst places because you've never experienced it. And yeah, it's not like great. You got to watch out for mines and stuff. I mean, every place has got its downfalls, right? I'd rather deal with an IED than a rattlesnake. Don't feel like living in Florida. Okay, but it's your perspective on things. It's your perspective on where you are. And I'm telling you now that I got back after all these years, after thinking that I'd made it, I'd paid off all my debt, I'd paid off all my school loan, I'd done all that other stuff, I'd done all the hard work. And I was at this place where I was going to get to spend time with my family. And I was going to get to do my reading and all my other stuff because I'm honestly the biggest nerd ever. I have a very analytical mind. I take things in, I'm quick, but I always hid from it because I wanted to be the cool guy. Right? But I'm really smart. And some of the worst things that have happened to me have been here. What I see, what I come home to, is not what I left. It's not what I fought for. I lost my last job, and it was a mutual separation. But I lost my last job 2 weeks before the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, because I didn't fit with the vibe. Nothing wrong. Top performer. Just too intense. Oopsie. Wonder why. Has anybody asked? Nope. It's fine. I don't tell much. That granted me the greatest opportunity in my life. This. To be able to tell my story in front of my family. To be able to come back home to the amazing place. What I've realized in the last couple of weeks since realizing this last great thing, and this is life. This is what happens. Buckle up, buttercups. You think you got it all figured out? Yeah. Walk down a dark hallway once or twice. See what you bump into. There's something there. You just don't know it yet. But don't bother going to the dining hall for, Celtics dinners and stuff like that. Make sure that you take everything in, follow it. Sorry, I'm fading fast here, so I'm going to go to my dang notes. That last dream, it's somebody else's dream. And that's okay. It's not mine. So when you get there, when you think it's it and it's not, that's okay. Because as long as you stay focused on where you are, where you want to go, and how you want to get there, you're going to be just fine. You just need that grit. You need that resilience, and you need to understand that there's others out there. A couple of things I brought with me today, wrapping up. So I want to challenge. I'm going to finish with a cool guy video. Why? Because I'm a Ranger. Hoorah. Sounds like a Marine. I was going to open with one of those jokes, but I decided not to. You're welcome. You know what Army stands for? I'll go with the Army. How's that, guys? You know what the Army stands for? Aren't ready for the Marines yet. You know what Marine stands for? My ass rides in Navy equipment. Marine. We have some fun. Finish with the video and the congressional record, some other paper crap that they gave to me that I keep them around still just to prove I'm not. Turn that down. I can. I'll just turn that down. Maybe not. So this was flying home. One of my last trips, and that's why I'm here. I'm here because what I returned home to is a place that I didn't necessarily understand, and now I really don't understand it. I'm a minority. I'm a disabled veteran. Here I am 2 weeks before the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. I was there, by the way, in case you didn't know. I'm waiting for the VA to let me in for counseling, but because of the paperwork, this, that, and the other thing, you guys hear the stupid stories in the news? The reason why I'm closing with this is because I think within this community, we have some amazing people. I think that SNU is amazing. As I walk the campus, it's unbelievable to see what's gone on. Good God, all the dorms thank God the dorms are gone. They burned the evidence. They burned the evidence. Hallelujah. They'll never find that Dowling banner, Paul. Everything changes. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity to come here, and I'd like to take any last questions. I'm going to stick around for a little while, but make sure that you're day one. And the thing I want to close with is, what's your story? What's your story? Do you want to be the person that just floats? Because if you're just going to float, don't bitch when the raft flips over. Because a dumbass that learned how to raft and has the life vest and all the other stuff may or may not throw you an oar. You better be prepared if you're going to take care of your stuff and you're going to understand your stuff. Think every day, how am I getting better? Flush the bad stuff, learn from it, move on, focus on every moment, every conversation you have. When you hear somebody being negative, find a way to make it positive. I don't care how you do it. And if you can't, then either walk away or stop talking. Because the way that people treat each other, and especially the way that people treat the veteran community, I'm telling you right now, we don't feel welcome. I'm telling you right now, and I can say it because I was there, we don't feel welcome, okay? And I'm sorry if I'm a little intense. But I have busted my hump, and I stand here, hopefully I've done a good job so that I can get back into my alumnus university with an entry-level position that I want nothing more in the world. You're too qualified. Bullshit. I want to go sit in an office and go do a job for a little while. I don't want title. I don't want pay. I want a way to support my family. I want to be able to get into counseling. I want to be able to do all these other things. But everybody's so focused on the wrong things and the stuff you're getting fed that we're getting flushed through the system. Just like everybody else, eventually you could get flushed through the system. Keep your head where your feet are. Pay attention to what matters to you. Pay attention to what matters to your community. This is a special place. It's an amazing place. And I thank you all very much for taking the time to come out today. So thank you very much. Thank you. I'm done.